Yeah, well, the difference being is trams in general have got you kind of look like the cable or in Michigan City they've got the electric cars. Those tracks are like flush with the ground.
Right.
That's more of a tramway.
So they're recessed.
Yeah, that's
and the
generally the
tracks
difference
stick up
between the two
for a train.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really the only difference?
That's like the main thing, and they're not. I mean, again, trains became bigger into transporting people and cargo instead of just moving from one spot to another. I mean, the trams were almost exclusively for ore and like one stop here and one stop there,
and a crap ton more power.
Well, yeah, once they were motorized and stuff like that. Others were built to carry coal from the mines to the ships to nearby rivers and harbors. Like I say, they were taking them from one spot to another, get them out of the tunnels. Mm-hmm. Then they started taking them a tram where they could take them to the ships, so they could then transport them elsewhere. And they found out that they could actually, if they had something that was not even, they started to develop cars that had brakes on them, so you could actually run them downhill, and then they would just get a horse to pull them back up to where they had to go.
Imagine being a guy who works there, and they started instituting these things. Sweet. You know?
Oh, yeah. Make your
well,
job
so that first
easier.
break didn't work.
Well, or you got fired because you don't need many people anymore.
Right.
Oops.
Wooden rails had their downfalls, as you might imagine.
Splinters.
So by 1770, splinters was the big one. By 1770, they started to replace those with iron ones. And the wagonways, which were the original wagonways, evolved into the tramways that spread across Europe. 1789, an Englishman by the name of William Jessup designed the first wagons with flanged wheels that were grooved, allowing the wheels to better grip the rail. So up until that time, they kind of were freewheeling for the most part.
And just another thing about wood and steel. Like, think about the roller coasters. Wood ones are more fun because you feel like you're going to die at any moment.
That's why.
Yeah, but the track's not wood.
Well, I know the whole thing is like wood.
Structures,
it's like,
right? The structure's wood. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's a pretty obvious difference.
Very.
Especially, I'm talking about in the roller coasters, like just to feel them. It's like, that's terrifying.
Anyway, that design was carried over into the future, obviously, and there were two different ways that they had designed them. There were some with the rails themselves had flanges that would hold the wheels in, but those tended to get a lot of debris in them. So by putting the flanges on the wheels, the tracks were flat. They tended to get a lot less debris on them.
And Billy's sitting over there like, "What the heck is a flange?"
No, I'm still trying to think about how they were given to the future.
What's that?
Or how? What'd you say? Like, then they
that design carried into the future. That was something that stuck, and they realized
that's what you're stuck on.
Yeah, because it made me think of that stupid song that I hate, where the time is slipping into the future.
Right.
What the hell does that even mean?
It's pretty simple, man.
Time is slipping into the future. That's just called time.
Take two of these, and you'll understand. Okay.
I did not know we were going to devolve into a Steve Miller discussion before
right?
this was all over.
That song was ridiculously
That
stupid.
makes sense.
No, it doesn't. No, it does not. Time is slipping into the future. That's just called being alive.
Sure.
Yeah, time's always slipping into the
Next
future.
on Trivia Rogue, songs that don't make sense.
The air has oxygen. Oh, as long as we're just saying obvious. Good thing. Thank you, Steve Miller Band, for pointing out
for some
obvious
reason,
crap. Thank you so much. I had no idea that
you,
time was moving.
For some reason, you wouldn't understand that.
You know what?
That's all he's saying.
I'm willing to bet that at some time with two little girls, he's going to look back, say a couple years from now, and say, "My God, time's gone so fast." No, it's gone exactly the same.
Yeah, but I don't need some idiot telling me that. I know what's going in the
But
future.
you'll say it nonetheless.
I think the Joker is more confusing than
Why is Steve Miller a jerk now?
Yeah,
I'm not saying he's a
you need a
jerk.
nice straightforward
Why is he an
Billy Joe and
idiot?
Bobby Sue. It's just right there.
Because maybe he's not an idiot, but he's like, pick better.
Wait, what did you
pick
say?
better stuff.
What'd you say, Jeff?
About what?
About
Billy Joe and Bobby Sue?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, she was saying that the
I
Joker,
said the
is far
Joker is more
confusing, and I said
confusing to
Billy
me.
Joe and Bobby Sue was just straightforward.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
right
yeah.
there. They robbed a bank. They're
Yeah.
Bonnie and Clyde with a happy ending.
I still you don't understand that. Okay.
I do understand it. It just.
Oh,
it's
apparently
stupid.
you don't.
It's obvious
Thank you. We finally agree.
that the meaning of the song is obvious.
Yeah.
Oh, good. And I'm glad he made the song then.
It's just a fun way to say it. What would you like him to say? Time keeps on moving.
I'm saying don't do anything. It's obvious. if we're just gonna make a song about obvious things, then just go, steel is hard, cotton is soft.
Yep, you'll sell 1 million records like that.
People have hair.
That is the only song in the world where the lyrics are.
That is just as creative as Ringo saying, "Drumming is my madness." No kidding.
Well, those
You're
people
a
are
drummer.
rolling in dough, and you're not.
Right.
So
Okay, look. I'm not going to sit here and just stand by while you guys are making excellent points.
Go take a puff on your train whistle.
Woo woo.
So anyway,
Off the rails.
by the 1770s,
again.
the wooden rails had gone to iron, and until the 1800s, they were using cast iron. But cast iron was prone to rust, and it was brittle, and it often caused it to fail under stress. So in 1820, John Birkinshaw invented a much more durable material called wrought iron. That innovation, although an improvement over cast iron, was still flawed, but it became the standard until the advent of the Bessemer process.
So wait, wrought iron was not necessarily made for rail, though, right?
I'm going to guess not.
Sounds like it might have been.
Just with the way you were talking about, I wasn't sure if it was wrought iron was made for rail, and it just
No, it was an improvement on the previous iron rails. The wrought iron was a much better product for the rails.
Okay,
Whether
so,
it was
so
made
something
to-
that was already being instituted elsewhere.
I have no idea.
Okay.
That question never occurred to me.
Okay. He's already
But
on.
Sean is already on.
I don't know if you're gonna get many trivia night questions. Where did wrought iron originate?
It's not like I said. This show is if it helps you on trivia night, great. But
right,
people will just
dude. We really need to get a box of chocolates. This is pissing me off.
just put it on the ground, idiot. Just think about time slipping that box onto the table.
So wrought
Or
iron
that
was
not-
used until the
was that stupid?
1860s.
Now I know my
The
point.
Bessemer
Well,
process
time can't slip an object.
allowed the use of steel.
He's not gonna let me. He's not gonna let me
No.
fight that one.
No.
I had an argument too, by the way.
And once this Bessemer process and the development of steel, it was cheaper. They could make it quicker. The railway expansion across the United States really took off. But
Once
that
they knew they
process-
wouldn't have to replace the rails all the time.
Not as much.
Yeah.
But that process was actually replaced by the use of open hearth furnaces, which further reduced the cost of steel production and allowed trains to connect with major cities throughout the United States by the end of the 18th or 19th century. But that's the rails. Get a little ahead of
the
ourselves.
18th or the 19th. Don't pick
okay,
one.
it says that
At the end of at the end of the 19th century, which is the 1800s.
Yeah.
wrought
I
iron
thought that
was
obvious, but
Now you know how I feel all the time.
No, it's just funny because you said at the end of the 18th or 19th century.
wrought
Whichever
iron
you like. Whichever you choose.
Don does this all the time.
off the rails over here. Okay, it was used for swords, cutlery, chisels, axes, and other edge tools, and then the demand reached its peak in the 1860s for ironclad warships and railway use. So it was not invented specifically for railways.
No, so it was used well into like I said, swords and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then that's interesting that it hit a crazy demand, especially when rail started using it. That's pretty cool.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got the rails down, but the biggest development, one of the greatest inventions that powered the entire Industrial Revolution was the steam engine, and James Watt had a lot to do with advancing that. He didn't invent the steam engine. Is that a mouse?
No, the stupid thing was watching Don try to quietly open a can like it
then
wasn't
he
just
just cracks
like it
it.
wasn't just going to crack at some point.
I did it pretty quietly.
Start over, Jeff.
No, I'm leaving that in.
James Watt was an inventor and mechanical engineer whose improvements in the steam engine technology drove the Industrial Revolution. Like I say, he didn't invent the steam engine. They were already in existence, but they were mainly, because of their size and their bulk and inability to move them from place to place, they were mainly used to pump water out of mines. He made important changes to the design, increasing the efficiency, making the steam engines cheaper to run. However, he had some patents on these things, and he protected them fiercely. So,
Well, that's significant.
What's
why,
that?
His
Is that-
developments. Why wouldn't
yeah.
you protect those?
Is that Watt
Right.
like WATT?
Yeah,
Yes.
Is that the unit of power named after him or
I don't believe so.
no? Okay.
No, because that's an electrical thing, I believe.
Right.
And he was into steam.
He was into steam.
Yeah, right. So he protected them, but in the 1800s, right around 1800, his patent lapsed, and that's when a bunch of people jumped in and really started making significant improvements because it was just, obviously more brains are better than one. But he
That's
was
what
the
they
one
say.
that basically
The
proved that
Watt
this thing,
is named after James Watt.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Kind of.
Electric power named after the guy who
Right.
developed steam power.
Right.
Yep.
I get it.
It was a nod. Maybe it was like we took everything from you with our amazing electrical discovery. So here's a bone.
You just imagine him like an old man, like, oh, they got a newfangled electricity.
Yeah.
Nothing like the old way of doing it.
Nothing like waiting for the steam to build up for 40 minutes.
So anyway, once the patent had lapsed, you got a lot of people that were working on stuff. The most significant improvement was working on the pressure chambers that enabled the engine to convert more of the steam's power into mechanical energy. So they were getting to the point where the steam engine was able to do more and more and more and move more and more. And that's when the train development really started taking off, and people started saying, hey, why don't we put this on like a cart and see if we can get it to move stuff for us. It was in 1803, a guy by the name of Samuel Homfray decided to fund the development of a steam-powered vehicle to replace the horse-drawn carts on the tramways. A guy by the name of Richard Trevithick built that vehicle, which was the first steam engine tramway locomotive. On February 22nd, 1804, that locomotive hauled a load of 10 tons of iron, 70 men, and 5 extra wagons the 9 miles between the ironworks of 2 different towns in Wales. The trip took 2 hours, so we're talking about
did it like a 1 mile an hour.
yeah,
probably.
4.5 miles an hour.
Oh, okay.
But 10 tons of iron, 70 men, that's pretty significant that it was actually,
I'll be like, guys, I'm just going to briskly walk next to it while it goes.
Yeah.
but
hey, get
you
on.
don't have,
That's
but
okay. I'll
can
meet you
briskly
there.
walk without carrying 10 tons of stuff, so.
Oh, no.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Touche.
You know what?
That's actually pretty impressive. That's a ton of weight. No, that's a
That's
lot of tons of
tons.
weight.
That's right.
I beat you to it.
No, I was gonna wait till the end really to just say it's not that important, but I've always thought that maybe besides airplanes, that trains are probably one of the more amazing things that have ever been invented. I mean, because think about it. Like, you have that engine, right? And then you ever sit at a railroad crossing and they have like 100 cars, and that thing's able to move those all. I mean, just think about the power that has to go from a dead stop to moving all those cars. It is a wildly impressive thing.
How many different words were you looking for?
I don't know. Probably a lot.
Probably a lot.
It was amazing.
I regret that I did that. So moving on.
By the way, most of all this is happening in England, by the way, all these developments. And in 1812, there was an English inventor by the name of George Stephenson who is credited pretty much with developing the first locomotive in England, first steam locomotive. He was hired by a company that was developing a railway or working on developing a rail line between Stockton and Darlington. And he actually built his first locomotive in 1814 for them, showing them the concept. Not long after that, he convinced the owners to try out a steam-powered locomotive. And his first effort was actually called the Locomotion. That is trivia-worthy.
No.
Nope.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Go ahead.
You want Billy to sing?
Oh, no.
Thank you.
What were you saying yes to?
I thought he was. He developed a plane or a train later that it got a lot of notoriety, and I thought he was telling me, no, that's not the Locomotion.
Oh. Well, come on, baby.
No,
No.
the Locomotion was
No.
the very first one. So
Again, not you.
just to be
No, yes.
just to be clear, so he's the inventor of the first steam locomotive for railways. The Trevithick he's the first tramway locomotive. Anyway, about 1821, an Englishman became the first person to patent a passenger road locomotive, and by 1825, using Stephenson's locomotives, the Stockton and Darlington Railroad Company, which was now actually a railroad company, launched the first railroad to carry both goods and passengers traveling on regular schedules. These new trains could pull 6 loaded coal cars, 21 passenger cars, with a capacity of 450 passengers over the 9 miles in about an hour. So,
Not too shabby.
no.